Hey everybody, it's Mike Kerr, and this is The Last Watch. We are here today with a good friend of mine who I don't see or talk to enough. His name is Carl Teichrib. Carl, nice to see you.
Mike, it's going to be in this conversation. I'm looking forward to it. It has been a while.
There you go. Now, you guys, Carl wrote a great book called Game of the Gods, and you can find it on Amazon and all over the place. It's a read, but it's a great book. And but he does something very interesting. Every year for several years now, he's been taking a crew with him and they go down to the Burning Man thing in Nevada. And I don't know what you really call it. I guess you wouldn't call it a conference. The Burning Man campout, I don't know. But it's quite a undertaking. And you see, the thing is, the reason I wanted to talk to him about this today is because a lot of you think, oh my gosh, why would he go to some heathen event like that? The same reason you go down to the homeless people and minister to them. These are people who need the Lord. And Carl goes down there with a crew of Audrey and Brian go, and some other folks go down there, and they just do the thing. Carl, tell us about it and why. What possessed you to do this?
That's an interesting question, Mike. Um, well, first of all, we'll maybe tackle what it is and what it isn't. So it's variously been called a festival, a gathering. It's hard to describe because festivals are usually curated events. You've got sound stages and you've got vendors, and there's a typical format that goes with it. This is different. Here, the organizers basically set up the infrastructure. Here's your porta potties, here's your street layouts. Now you fill in the rest. And so 70 people, 70,000 people roughly can come together and they build a city. They fill in the gaps, they fill in all the space. And they set it up with pieces of artwork or great big tents with workshops or thematic camps that may cater to a certain interest. A lot of it is quite sexual in orientation, or there's a lot of mockery that's involved. In fact, they will mock themselves. Mockery and whimsy is certainly a big part of this community. And so it's called the city. In fact, it's described as Black Rock City because it takes place in the Black Rock Desert of northern Nevada. And it is a city. I mean, 70,000 people, Mike, that's a city.
That's bigger than my
So,
city.
yeah, I know, way bigger than mine as well. So, when you arrive at the city, you're given a guidebook. It's called the What, Where, When Guide, and it lists thousands of different events that you could be going to because there's events happening every day, hundreds and hundreds of events. Uh, many of them are almost there's a lot of impromptu events that just pop up, little happenings all over the place. But there's a lot that are structured. Here's the schedule. This is what's happening at such and such a camp. They'll also give you a map. It's a great big map that lays out the city and allows you to work through. Okay, here's the grid. Here's the street layout. Here's where the camps are laid out. And so over the course of then 8 days or so, you are in this community, this temporary experimental city that's in the dust and the heat of the desert. It's been going on now, golly, since, well, the first Burning Man took place in 1986, but it didn't move out into the Black Rock Desert until I believe 1990. And it has been an annual event ever since and has only grown in size. So, in terms of its growth, it began as a group of friends in San Francisco at Baker Beach when they burned this effigy on the beach during summer solstice. Literally, no more than a handful of buddies got together. They had some beer, threw some gasoline on this effigy, lit it up, and went, "Yay!" And, and then people congregated around it. And then they thought, wow, this kind of feels good. Let's do this again. And they did it again. And more people congregate around it. And by the time the late 1980s comes into play, an underground art group called the Cacophony Society gets wind of it. And all of a sudden, you have hundreds of people showing up at the beach. And at the same time, the cops show up. And the cops are like, you guys can't do this here because you don't have a permit. And that's we're living in the bureaucratic age. That's more important than anything else. Got to get the permits, right? And so the Cacophony Society says, hey, we know a spot out in the middle of nowhere, out in the desert of Nevada, that nobody will bother us. And let's go and do our thing there. And at that point, it began to grow. And it has since exploded in size. And for the last, oh golly, 20 plus years, 30 years, it has become now a cultural trendsetter. It's a petri dish where new ideas are explored and experimented with. It is an international gathering. This year, I believe we had 105 or 110 nations represented. It is a gathering of everything from folks just coming just to party, and you'll have so much of that. A lot of that is just people coming to party or to search for spirituality, or you have the movers and shakers of the world showing up. You've got your Hollywood insiders, you've got your tech insiders. This is really Silicon Valley, San Francisco's event. So, the San Francisco, the Bay Area empties out and comes to the burn. You've got a lot of people involved in the tech industry. And so it's this bizarre, crazy mashup where you have world level conversations, literally World Economic Forum level kind of conversations. In fact, I've described it as a kind of a bizarre marriage between Mardi Gras and the World Economic Forum. This is all happening. So you've got hypersexuality, there's nudity, quite a bit of nudity, but yet at the same time, less than what you expect. After a couple of days of nudity, people burn parts they've never burnt before, and all of a sudden clothes come back on. You know, and in all of this, all of a sudden you're rubbing shoulders with, oh, you're from the European Union. Oh, you're the mayor of a major city. You're a congressman. You're a tech developer. You're a software designer. You're an engineer. Oh, you're Google. That's the kind of thing that happens all of a sudden. You're like, oh, okay. I mean, just a few weeks ago when I was there, Mike, we were camping beside a guy. He was just a regular Joe in a tent. Nothing special. Turns out he was a really important figure inside the world of developing AI algorithms for a major social media platform.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, you're one of the guys shaping the world. It's like, well, yeah, kind of. Don't really see it that way, but yeah, I'm heading up an AI team for a major social media platform. All right, well, there we go. And you're in a tent. You're like, camp, just a few feet away from me. So that's kind of what it looks like. It's kind of what it is. It's really hard to describe. So I know you asked the question, Mike, why do you go?
What is it that you do there? What does your camp do?
So the name of our camp is the Camp of the Unknown God. And the Camp of the Unknown God has three functions, three primary functions. One, we're looking to have conversations for Christ. And that's embedded into the name of the camp, which is based out of Acts 17. If you remember in Acts 17, Paul goes to Athens, he goes to Mars Hill, and he sees that the place is given over to idols, and he finds a monument that's inscribed to the unknown God. And then he uses that as leverage to launch into the gospel message. We do the same thing in a way. We have the sign up, Camp of the Unknown God. People walk by and they literally blurt out, who is this unknown God? And you bring them back around to the book of Acts, and you end up having a great conversation with them. And it's not, there's no pressure. It's one of those things where, as they ask the question, it opens the door. And now you're having just a conversation, but you can have a true conversation, a real conversation, a deep conversation. and bring the love of Christ into it. So that's basically the primary role. But we do have a couple of other roles. One is to try to understand the culture itself, because the culture is changing the world as we know it. The people who are attending are engaging in activities that are good, that are being used to rewrite social ideas. And then we're there to try to understand what the larger conversations are. This year we attended workshops on artificial intelligence, going beyond capitalism, various other talks that are um, that have an international flavor, that are larger than just simply your typical coffee table talk.
Interesting, interesting. So, in watching this and seeing what's going on out there and around the world, how do you tie it all together?
Oh man, good question. We tie it together by looking to see who attends Burning Man, what ideas have sprung from that event, what lines of influence can we find. So I'll give you one example. It's by far probably the most important example, and that's Google. Google is a burner product. It is infused with burner thinking, with burner experiences. In fact, the very first Google Doodle, which came out in 1998, during actually Burn Week, and that happened to be the same week that Google was going to be incorporated as a company. The very first Google Doodle was a symbol of the man, and that was Larry Page's way of saying, "Hey, we on the Google team, we're burners first," and off they went to the Black Rock Desert. Uh, in fact, Google and Burning Man have been so closely intertwined that when Eric Schmidt, the CEO that made Google what it is today, when he pitched his resume to be considered as CEO, he had Burning Man on his resume, which caught Larry Page's attention, which put him basically at the top of the list, and was very important in landing him that position. Has Google changed the world? 100%, no question. One of the most powerful companies on the planet. Um, where did that influence arise? Where was it shaped? Burning Man played a significant part of it. Even Google Maps was beta tested at Black Rock Desert. When when Elon Musk introduced his Tesla Roadster to the world, the first place he took it that was in terms of like a public disclosure, it wasn't to a car show in Milan or New York or Chicago or Toronto. It was at Burning Man, and it was parked by the man figure. So this gives you a sense then of the type of people who attend and the lines of influence that will come through it. Now, by the way, this year one of the art pieces was a big F Elon Musk. So I didn't see Elon there. I'm not sure if he did go or not, but he's been he certainly has been part of the Burning Man culture for a long time.
Well, I find it fascinating. And like I said, I think it's important for us to uh, step out of the box and get into some of this stuff. Now, it might not be for everybody. I've seen your pictures. If you're not holding your tent down, you're covered in dust, you know. And I know one year driving down there, you hit a deer in my state in Idaho, which is quite common. And Audrey and Brian had car trouble. It's an effort to get there, and you guys are willing to make it. And that's amazing. Do you think, having been a part of all this, do you think AI is dangerous or do you think we overplay it?
So one of the workshops we went to was it was led by a how do I describe his position? He's an ethicist that deals with artificial intelligence, looking at it from an ethical point of view. What is the ethics of AI? What is the ethics of technology? And he has worked within Google. He has worked within other major tech corporations. And he offered a warning. He was basically saying it's a child that is already out of our control. And he offered a series of warnings about AI. he was open in the sense that he was like, a lot of us from Silicon Valley will be saying how great this is, how it's going to unlock creativity, it's going to unleash new energy. We're going to be able to now develop and create all kinds of new things. But he was like, I'm not going to be blowing, smoke in your face. There definitely AI is very helpful in terms of creativity. It frees up and opens up space for new options because, hey, you can free you up from, let's say, doing lots of mundane tasks. At the same time, he was very clear that we are already entering into a danger zone with AI, and that AI is very quickly coming to the point where AI will begin training AI. That this is not something to be taken lightly. So it was really interesting and refreshing to hear it from somebody who's been on the inside. Um, and sometimes we, even in the Christian world, will we'll take it to a very very sensational point. We don't know where it's going to exactly land. I've got some good ideas, but we don't exactly know where it's going to land or how it's going to land there. But at the same time, there is concerns within the tech world, and this gentleman offered up many of those concerns that AI potentially has a significant amount of grave dangers attached to it. There is risk. There is real risk. With that in mind, last year I was at an event in Texas. I was at the Solar Eclipse Festival. Same people, same same kind of atmosphere, same kind of event. We just didn't burn anything. And some of the conversations around AI was there was a recognition that we're at a point where even non-state actors, terrorist groups, can now begin to use AI, merge that with very cheaply made 3D printed drones, and you can begin to wage asymmetrical warfare uh, with high technology. And this is not just simply from, in the confines of the state. This can be done with non-state actors, terrorist groups. And so they, even a year ago, there was this conversation again by people who are inside the industry, recognizing that there's a real danger. We can make cheaply produced swarms of drones, and as the tech is being developed, there is a strong possibility that AI can then just simply be programmed to operate, drone swarms in a battlefield situation or in a terrorist situation. So, I mean, there's huge, huge conversations, Mike, in the space of where is AI taking us? And hey, that's one of the reasons that we go to Burning Man is to try to wrestle through, what is the conversation looking like? What is the direction that leaders in that field are perceiving?
It's fascinating, but it is frightening. I mean, the unknown, I think, is the frightening part about it. What
Right.
what's where are you going from here? What's on your plate?
Oh boy. So, after coming back from Burning Man, you always spend a lot of time just kind of wrestling through what in the world just happened because you've had, days of crazy experiences, incredible conversations. And boy, we had amazing conversations. Every morning we did a Bible study at Burning Man. And it brought people in to sit through our study with us. We had non-Christians joining us for every study, and just again, so many things took place. So in the weeks afterwards, you really are kind of working through. All right, what did I just experience? Because it rolls through like a whirlwind. It has such a profound effect. Plus, there's a lot of interest afterwards by different people going, all right, can you tell us what happened? Now, where to go with it though? This is my sixth time at Burning Man. Our camp is getting bigger. We have more interest, but with more people. I would like to see, okay, if we're going to go forward, let's say we do this again next year, and we probably will try. I would love to see another camp or two of like-minded Christians using the same kind of model we're using to pop up in, let's say, 2 3 blocks away from us. And it'd be wonderful to see three or four Christian camps that are taking let's call it maybe a low profile approach. We're not out there, with placards. We're not out there with banners. We're out there just having conversations, and we're actually trying to make a difference one person at a time. And that's really the approach that we've been using. Um, so it'd be cool. It'd be really cool if we could see more of that. But I'll be upfront, Mike. It's not for everybody, unless you understand that you've kind of been called to it, that you've been equipped for it. It can be a real dangerous place, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, even physically. And we've encountered that as a camp. We've seen some pretty hard things. In fact, we do have a self-vetting document that our camp has put together where we list a lot of the hard things that we've seen. And looking back at it, you realize, all right, there's this is a tough place to be. So unless you're equipped, unless you understand why you're going, um, you'd be best maybe not to go. But at the same time, if that's where God has called you and God has equipped you, then wonderful, wonderful. We need to be able to have more people out there being ambassadors for Christ, flat out. Because honestly, Mike, Burning Man is just simply a more raw, condensed example of where the culture's already at. We're already rubbing shoulders with it. You're rubbing shoulders with it. You go to Walmart, you go to McDonald's, you're rubbing shoulders with it. Doesn't matter where you go, you're rubbing shoulders with the worldview that encompasses events like this, because it's just a reflection of where society already is at.
Hmm. What do you think, that's good or bad?
I think, well, both. Obviously, you don't want to see society go down that direction because you realize that we have moved away, firmly moved away from a Christian ethos, from a Christian worldview. That's evident. Um, and yet, at the same time, it's good in the sense that wherever you go, wherever your feet are, that's where your ministry is, and you now have an opportunity to be able to be salt and light in a culture that is searching for some kind of answers because they are, Mike. Even though there is a rejection of Christianity, and has been a rejection, a cultural, historical disconnect from Christianity over the last 40, 50 years, there's a surprising amount of people who are now searching for something. And that came through at our camp over and over again as people came with questions, sincere, having sincere conversations, um, hugging with tears, returning to have conversations over and over again, and even telling us, we came to Burning Man because we're searching for something, and we never expected that we would find Jesus Christ and a Christian conversation at Burning Man.
I think it's wonderful. I really do. I mean, it's like, you know, you remember there was a little concert back in our days called Woodstock. And, just imagine if people were out there then doing what you're doing now, you'd be planting the seeds, and that's what it's all about. So, how do people get a hold of you, Carl? How they can follow you on Facebook, right?
Right. Yes, I have a Facebook page. It's my personal page. So the last few days, hey, if all of a sudden you follow me on my Facebook feed, you're going to have Northern Light pictures, lots and lots of Northern Lights pictures, because we've had some beautiful, beautiful displays this last week. You can follow me on Twitter. I also have a Substack called Convergence, Power and Belief, where every week or so I put up articles, reports, and essays on world trends and what's happening. Um, and you can find my book, Game of Gods, as you said earlier, on Amazon. And yeah, Game of Gods, I've got an entire chapter devoted to this movement.
It's a great book, you guys, but you're not going to read it in one weekend. So I'm just warning you about that. Unless you're Carl, he could probably do it, but I
No, no, no. I didn't write it in a weekend either.
Well, Carl, I want to thank you for joining us today. And folks, we'll be back on, well, tomorrow and then on Monday. So God bless each and every one of you, and we will see you then.